Hi there, it's me Audrina Lane again with the next chapter of Where Did Your Heart Go? So we'll get started on chapter 29. After nearly 2 hours I started to worry and kept checking my phone in case I'd missed a text instead of a call. Eventually I gave in and rang her mobile number. Hi Charlie. Oh, hi Mum, sorry I forgot. I'm okay, but I've been busy meeting all of Mitchell's family, Charlotte gushed. That's okay, I just needed to check you'd arrived, I said, pleased to hear from her voice that everything was going well. We're just about to have some tea, Charlie said, so I better go. Sure, sweetheart, just let me know when you're coming home on Sunday. Have a good time and don't forget to say thank you to Mitchell's dad for letting you stay, I gently reminded. I won't. Bye, Mum. Bye, Charlotte. The house always felt empty when I was alone, so I wandered into the lounge with my solitary meal and a bottle of wine. I called Sarah, but Chris was taking her out for a meal, and although they had invited me to join them, I declined. The television was dire, so I gave in to my misgivings and located my worn copy of Top Gun, slotting it into the machine. At the same time I picked up my diary and opened it up to the bookmark page, settling in for a night of memories. Dear Diary, Friday the 30th of September, 1988. It had been a long time since I last packed my bag for a weekend in Warwickshire with James. However, it also felt quite quick, as college had been really interesting in most parts, and I'd managed to keep a couple of my shows going at the hospital at the same time. Also on a Saturday night I'd go out dancing with Jack, Mark and some of the nurses, Caroline, Catherine and Melanie. It was always a laugh, but would leave me feeling sad when the slow songs heralded the end of the night, and people paired off, while I was left to miss the comfort of James's arms holding me. I sat on my window seat and scanned the road until I heard the familiar roar of an engine, and the Mini came into sight. By the time he stepped out of the car, I'd reached the ground floor and was waiting to jump into his arms. He spun me round and kissed me before he broke apart so that he could say hello to my parents. After a quick coffee, I was soon in the car. So how's the job then, I asked, even those letters had been full of the fire station. Amazing. Driving the fire engine is something else, especially when you hear the siren and see cars part in front of you. I could tell from the excitement in his voice and the sparkle in his eyes that this was what he really loved. My course is going well, and I've still got a couple of hospital radio shifts to keep me busy in between time. Are the kids enjoying your talents? Yeah, I get mobbed as soon as I enter the ward, I revealed. Smiling, I thought of Lisa, Jenny, Sam and Ben, who were always the first ones to call the show. I didn't tell him how much my heart ached when we were apart, how empty my arms felt without him filling them. I saw the chain of his St. Christopher tucked into the jumper and I smiled. We held hands for most of the journey, and by the time we pulled into his drive I was ready to fall into his arms again. After an evening of catching up with Peter and Pam, we made our excuses and went upstairs. James put the mixtape into his stereo, and as the now familiar tune swirled around the room, he walked the short distance that separated us and pulled me into his arms. My body meeting his, revelling in the feel of his strong muscles that rippled under his clothes. My hands crept under his jumper to touch his skin. Even after all this time, being with him was exciting and thrilling, his lips catching mine in a long, slow kiss. Our lips yielded to each other and opened so that our tongues could slip past and explore. I couldn't wait to pull his jumper off so I could see what my fingertips had already felt, and I started to tackle the belt buckle on his jeans. Soon he stood before me in all his glory, whilst, surprisingly, I was still semi-dressed in the underwear he'd bought me for my birthday. Kneeling in front of me, he unclipped the suspender belt attachments and rolled down the stockings, his hands smoothly caressing my legs. Kissing his way back up, his hands unclasped my bra, and it fell from my body. His fingers caught my nipples and ignited the flames inside. James had brought up a glass of iced water, and I watched as he took a sip, and then brought his mouth down onto my nipple. I jumped from the shock of the cold ice cube that tumbled against my warm skin, the feeling intense. The pinpricks of ice hitting my warm skin created a delicious feeling of both heat and cold, and droplets of water trailed down my breast and along the valley in between. Fuck, that feels fantastic, I gasped when James surfaced. You like it then? Yes, mind-blowing. Where did you find out about this? Graham at the pool told me about it as his girlfriend tried it on him. Can I have a go? I asked. grinning up at James as he lay down on the bed. Popping an ice cube into my mouth, I headed for James's nipples and ran the cube over the surface of his skin. I felt him flinch before he pulled me closer. Ever so often I would glance up and watch his face. Once the ice melted, I trailed my fingertips down the root of the water as it pooled in his belly button, and then licked it up. I watched as James reached for the glass again. My turn again, he decided, and this time I'm going lower. I watched as his head disappeared between my legs, and then I closed my eyes as the first rivulet of icy water trickled down and failed to cool the heat of my body. Soon I couldn't contain myself any longer as I gasped, "Fuck me now, I can't wait any longer." My orgasm was already on the brink of breaking me wide open. As I came, I grabbed James's shoulders to stop myself from screaming. I kissed him deeply as I felt his orgasm fill me and join with the ripples of mine, that were more like waves crashing around us. The drumming of my heart so loud in my ears, it was like a violent thunderstorm had erupted around us. Afterwards we lay together and stared at each other with new eyes. Neither of us wanted to break the spell surrounding us at that moment in time. Love was perfect. Saturday the 1st of October 1988. I woke to the sound of rain drumming on the window pane as I leaned over and gently kissed James on the lips. It was all I needed to do to wake him up. "Morning, babe," he murmured between kisses. "This is the best way to wake up," he said as he held me close. "What are we doing today?" I asked. "I thought we'd go into town, maybe see a film if there's something good on." "Can I see where you work?" "Sure. I'll warn you that the guys are full of banter and I may have to rescue you from them." His kisses started to drift down my eager body. "Isn't that what they teach you to do?" I giggled. James silenced me with his lips. After last night's wildness, that morning it was all about just being together and sharing our love in the gentleness of touch. My heart reached out and surrendered to his. As it was still raining, we took the car and parked up before looking around the shops. James dragged me into Ann Summers and I felt faintly embarrassed as he wandered around, showing me things he wanted to see me in. In the end I found a set that we both liked and bought it for later. After lunch we drove to the fire station and James showed me around, much to the amusement of the other lads. They all seemed like a friendly bunch and I was just pleased that Felicity was no longer on the scene. "I'm going clubbing tonight, do you want to come?" Michael asked. James looked across at me and I nodded. "Yeah, why not?" he replied. "We'll meet you there around 10. Getting ready to go out, I tried not to think about what happened the last time we hit the town. James pulled me to him. "You're quiet, what's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing. Just remembering last time we went out. I hope we don't see Felicity." "Well, we'll be well protected this time with all their strong firemen to look after you," James replied, kissing me lightly on the tip of my nose. "Anyway, you may not be there long as you look so sexy tonight," he said, letting his eyes and hands wander over my curves. The club seemed to attract the more sophisticated crowd, and I noticed that James had made an effort to wear a tie with his suit. He looked so handsome that I was sure I wouldn't want to let go of him all night. The crowd of firemen were great fun. Some had girlfriends and some were very much single and on the pull. All in all, I felt comfortable in their midst, and I didn't mind when James went off to the bar later in the evening. However, after nearly 20 minutes of him being gone, I started to get worried and left the group to do a quick wander, seeing if I could find him. Looking back, I wish now that I hadn't gone looking for him, as I saw him in the entrance with his arms around a girl. Even though I could only see the back of her, I knew it was Felicity. As my eyes filled with tears, James saw me and quickly withdrew his arms and tried to step into my path as I took flight and ran past them out of the club. I ran until I reached the corner of the street, and then I wandered down the next street until I came to a park I recognised. I didn't notice the tears rolling down my cheeks as the rain was beating down on me too, and when I found a bench I just sat down and let the rain continue its stream down and through my dress. I was soaked to the skin, but I didn't care as I wondered why. Why was James hugging Felicity? What was she doing there? Why had he betrayed me? I started to shiver from the cold as I held my head in my hands, my mind a maze of emotions. I heard running footsteps and James calling my name. I stayed hunched over, but he found me and carefully draped my coat over my shoulders. I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to start with, but in the end I didn't need to, as James broke the silence. "It's not what you think," he mumbled. "What am I supposed to think when I see my boyfriend with his arms around another woman?" I spat back. "Felicity's just broken up with Jason and needed a friendly shoulder to cry on," James replied, "and I just happened to be there to provide that." "So, when did the two of you become good friends?" I retorted. "Well, she was a lot better once I handed in my notice at work," he replied, slowly reaching out to take my hand in his. He rubbed it between the two of his as it was numb from the cold. "Please believe me, Steph, I'd never lie to you or hurt you. I love you till the end of time." His words trailed off as I heard the catch of a sob in his voice. Even though my mind was still lost in confusion, I leaned into his arms. I wasn't ready to give up on him as he held my heart and soul, and I knew I couldn't wrench them away. I can't remember how long we sat on the bench in the rain, but I started to shiver, even with my coat on, so we walked back to the house. There were no stars in the sky that night. Our way was lit only by the artificial street lamps along the path. James never took his arms from around me, and although we didn't talk, the silence was safe. As it was late, we tiptoed upstairs and into the bathroom. James gently peeled my clothes away from my frozen body and started up the shower, joining me under the hot stream of water. With care, he ran the sponge over me as I clung to him. When we were under the comfort of the duvet, I kissed him. "I love you. I believe you," I whispered as I looked into his eyes. All I could see was love burning brightly. As James drifted into sleep, I lay there awake for a while before I drifted off. However, I only found nightmares when my eyes were closed. Felicity had hold of James and was taunting me with the words, "He's mine now, he's mine now." I woke up sweating and pulled James' arm around me as I tried to dispel the awful scene I'd just seen in my dreams. I reached for the tissues as I mirrored the tears of Maverick on screen as he cried over the death of Goose. I cried for all the good times I had shared with James and all the love he'd given me, which I'd reciprocated for that short period of time. I cried as I recalled the hurt he had caused me, and it felt as though my wounds deliberately started to throb with every beat. So I hope you enjoyed this week's chapter. If you did, please feel free to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to go and read on ahead, you can download this book for free from my website, which is www.audrinalane.co.uk. And if you want to buy it, it's available on Amazon and it's now in paperback. So many thanks for listening, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.